Our final award tonight goes to the Middletown Middies from 1952 and 1953. In a span of 15 years, beginning in 1944, the Middies made it to the state tournament 9 times. They won the Class A championship 7 times under 3 different coaches, Roy Green, George Houck, and Paul Walker, who led 5 teams to the title. The Butler County School won back-to-back titles in 46 and 47, and 52 and 53, and 56 and 57, with the great Jerry Lucas at center. The Middies took a 76-game winning streak into the 1958 semifinals, but were upset by Columbus North. While the Jerry Lucas-led teams have already been honored by the Ohio Basketball Hall of Fame, the 51-52 and the 52-53 teams are the ones being inducted and honored tonight. It was in 1951 that Paul Walker decided to put aside his deliberate style of play in favor of an up-tempo game featuring running and passing and pressing with a basketball. The Middies reacted well to the change by taking a 25-1 record into the tournament, their only loss being to Hamilton by 3 points. Middletown's starters were seniors Dick Weiss and Don Barnett, juniors Cliff Hafer and Tom Dillman, and sophomore Owen Lawson. The Middies breezed through 4 games in the district tournament in Dayton, whipped Cleveland St. Ignatius 58-41 in a quarterfinal game in Columbus. Then they trounced Cincinnati Withrow 67-48 in a state semifinal as Weiss scored 31 points to set up a showdown with number 1 ranked Steubenville, who was 28-0 headed into the tournament in the championship game as well. In the final, it was Middletown winning, though, 63-53, as Barnett guarded Steubenville star Bill Ross and held him to only 5 points. 3 starters in that game, Lawson, Hafer, and Dillman, returned for the 52-53 campaign and were joined in the starting lineup by junior Eric Back and senior Ed Payne. That team finished the regular season with a 16-2 mark and would finish with an amazing average of 79.8 points per contest. Wilbur Wright gave the Middies an unexpected tussle in a district game after falling by 44 in the regular season meeting, losing by only 7 points, but Middletown handled Roosevelt and Stivers easily while advancing to the regional. Cincinnati St. Xavier center Al Sicking, later a star at the University of Dayton, scored 34 points in the Middies' first regional game, but Middletown won 76-56. Tecumseh, with Miami University-bound center Wayne Embry, was the next victim, and the Arrows were overwhelmed 76-42. Middletown's opponent in the state semifinal was Cleveland St. Ignatius, and the 2 teams were tied 33 at halftime. We'll come back tomorrow and tell you about the rest. Now, then Eric Back sparked the Middies to a strong second-half finish with 22 points as they won 75-63. Newark, Middletown's opponent in the 1953 Class A championship, Gary Walters, don't listen, tried to slow the pace of the game, but the Middies were too much and too talented and pulled away to a 73-35 victory. Owen Lawson led the Middies with 21 points. It remains the largest margin of victory in Ohio's Big School Championship game to this date. Of the 12 members of the team that won back-to-back championships, 9 of them played both years. Weiss and Barnett were the leaders of the 1952 champions. Hafer, Dillman, and Lawson were starters on both teams. The starters of each team went on to play basketball and/or football in college, and they all graduated. 6 of the 7 starters from both teams played basketball in college, and the other starter, Tom Dillman, who was sitting over there, was the starting center on Ohio State's 1954 National Championship football team. Please join me tonight in congratulating the Middletown Middies who are with us here tonight.
My name is Paul Walker, Jr., and got a fairly famous father that coached for 30 years here in Ohio and loved every minute of it. And he especially loved teams like the 52 and 53 teams, obviously because they were champions, but also because of the kind of people they were and how great a teamwork philosophy they brought to their championship seasons. As the gentleman just commented, Middletown had a great period of time during the 40s and 50s. And I will make one slight correction. From 44 to 59, Middletown, in that 16-year period, appeared in the state tournament 10 times. in a 16-year period, and they won 7 times. Not a bad percentage, not a bad run. Unfortunately, it doesn't go on anymore. Tonight there were 17 players that played in 52 and 53. Of those 17 players, 9 are deceased. 8 are still alive. Unfortunately, we expected to have 5 here tonight, but due to some sickness, we only have 2. But they are 2 very, very outstanding players. First, I'd like to introduce Tom Dillman. Tom, as you just heard, was a great football player, but he also was an outstanding basketball player for the Middies. He played in 52 as a starter and in 53 as a starter, 6'1" forward on the team. But he was a very strong rebounder, and he didn't score a lot of points in 52, and he came around to my dad and he said, you know, I don't understand. I just don't seem to be able to score. And my dad said, well, you know, during football season, when you're working hard at football, you need to take some time on the weekends to play some basketball, and maybe you'll score some more points in the coming year. And lo and behold, he doubled his point total from 52 to 53. Tom was, as I said, an outstanding football player at Ohio State. He also was a graduate of the veterinary school at Ohio State and practiced veterinary medicine in Trotwood, Ohio for many, many years. He's now retired and living in Point Pleasant, West Virginia. I bring you Tom Dillman.
I wasn't expected to be here, but I want to talk a little bit about Middletown, and then Cliff will talk about Paul Walker Sr. Middletown we had a black woman principal there, the home of Armco Steel, the 5th largest steel mill in the country. And after the first state championship we had, the school board put basketball courts on every grade school to help so other basketball players. And and before each grade school, Don Barnett of the junior of the 52 team became the first black recruit at Miami University of Ohio, and most of our other teammates went to college and graduated, and one became a Navy SEAL. And at one time in 52 and 53, we played Hamilton at the Cincinnati Gardens with over 11,000 people at each game, and that was a record for the whole country. It was a record for the teams, and that's. So that's kind of all I have to say on that, just little things about Middletown. And
our next fellow that I'm going to introduce was a real leader on both the 52 and 53 team. He was kind of a giant at that time. He was all of 6'4½". And Cliff Hafer was the leading rebounder in 52 and second leading scorer. In 53, he was the leader in both rebounding and scoring. He was All-State first team, 1953. He was just an outstanding basketball player for Middletown. He went on to play at North Carolina State under the famed coach Everett Case. Spent 3 years there, graduated in 1957. Went on and played some semi-pro ball in the Cleveland area. And today he resides in North Royalton, Ohio, suburb of Cleveland. I present Cliff Hafer to you.
Pretty much everything I was going to say has already got said. But the one thing I'd like to stress is our coach, Paul Walker. The success that we had with winning the back-to-back championships, his teaching was done with respect, and all of us knew he had our back. I can't really say enough about this man. He was the best coach that I've ever had. But there was another reason other than just our coach, and that was teamwork. We never had a super player that scored 30 points a game or anything like that. Our star player was the team. All of us knew the system that Coach Walker taught us, and all we needed to do was just perform to our potential. I did have a little bit to say about our team members through those 2 years. Like Tommy Dillman, he played football at Ohio State. And then Paul Johnson, he was a football outstanding at University of Cincinnati. Bill Davison, he also played football. Skeeter Payne, he went to William and Jewell College. Ralph Phibbs, he mentioned the Navy, where he got his education, and he was a SEAL. And that's the ones they take the best from the best. Eric Back and Owen Lawson both went to Western Kentucky on basketball. And then our other members, we had Tom Hanley, Leonard Johnson, Ron Stokely, Denzel Ratliff, Lacey King, Charlie Watkins, and Paul Howard. But I also want to say this, and first and foremost, I'd like to thank the Ohio Sports Hall of Fame Committee for all they've done to make this special event possible. Without their hard work and dedication, we would not be able to join together and celebrate our accomplishments and great memories that we made together. I think that is said for this whole evening about all the inductees. So that's all I have to say. And when you get out of here, drive safely.
Living history, ladies and gentlemen.